All right, so thank you officially, guys, for coming to our third, or it might even be fourth annual college application crash course. And so this program is for rising senior students that want to get prepared for next year. So I know y'all are tired and you are ready to go because I'm tired and I'm ready to go as well, right? But there are some things that you guys need to do to get ready over the summer so that you can be prepared and get some of the tasks that you have in the fall off of your plates, right? And so I'm glad that you guys are on here to get some information. So if you guys can do me a quick favor, and if you can drop in the chat what grade you are in or the grade that you are representing, what grade you are in and what grade you are representing. And also, if you are a student on here and your parent is Spanish speaking, you can go in the chat and you can pick Miss Gina's name in the chat and you can talk to her one-on-one in there as well. Okay. All right. So we have 11, 11. Who else do we have here? So we're putting the grade that you're representing in the chat. And if it's a parent, then just put the grade that your student is in the chat. All right. So we have a couple of 11s here. All right. So one of the main reasons, again, that we want to have this is just to make sure that you feel more comfortable and you're ready. So we're not going to go over the whole, this is everything that you need to do for college, because that's going to be a whole long conversation. We're just going to hit on some basic notes. All right. So what I'm going to do now is to share my screen and get this PowerPoint rolling for you. So hold on one second. Let me get this PowerPoint together. And we're going to share my screen. All right. All right, so everyone can see my screen, right? Okay, cool. All right, so we have our summer prep for rising seniors. So the first thing that I want to do is to make sure that I share with you guys our Schoology access codes. And so Schoology is used a lot to make sure that there's information that gets out to the students, because a lot of students do not check their email. So a lot of students will go into the Schoology account and check their email that way, okay? So make sure that you put down the code for your particular class there. And so the upcoming class is the class of 2023. Also, I am very active on Instagram. So here's my Instagram handle if you are a person that's on Instagram. And it also goes, anytime I feed something on Instagram, it goes directly to Facebook as well. Okay. And so you don't have to worry about missing anything on there, and it's the same handle. And then, of course, at the bottom, I have my link tree, which we'll go over in a second. It has any important links that I share with you today or as time goes by in the school year and you're trying to get access to some information. Okay. All right. Now, I do have some summer hours because, again, the student's last day is June the 9th and my last day is June the 10th. There are a couple of random days in June that I will be working, but I am not available at all in July. And then in August, I have to work a couple of days. So most likely my summer hour days are going to be August the 16th and 17th. So I will send out an email to you guys before I leave for the summer to let you know when they are, and even give you an opportunity to sign up if you want to get some additional help over the summer, okay? And that'll be helpful for those of you who are going to get started on your applications over the summer. Then we also have parts 2 and 3 to this program. That's going to happen the week that the teachers come back to school. So that's going to be on Tuesday, August the 24th, and it's going to be virtual just like this, and Wednesday, August the 25th. And we'll talk about the application timeline, the first date, and financial aid the second date, okay? And then also, this is a booklet that I have been handing out to students forever. And so this is the summer version of the book. And so if you want some step-by-step instruction as to what you need to do over the summer, I'm actually going to go ahead and push escape so I can go in and show you how that works. So when you get this link, I'll give you this link in a second. This is the summer supplement that gives you steps and lets you know what you need to be working on over the summer. It's only about 4 or 6 pages, okay? So it's talking about understanding your college options, preparing to take the SAT or the ACT, doing some fit research, which we'll talk about a little bit tonight, planning for college visits, beginning the application process. So I will touch on some of these things, but the full detail is here. How to begin your draft application essay, and starting to think about paying for college. So this is an outstanding resource for you guys. And I know this is on another slide, so I'm going to go ahead and share this with you too. This is my link tree. And so it has links to pretty much everything that I'm going to talk about tonight. I'll go ahead and put this in the chat for you. Okay. So when you click on here, this is the pre-survey for the class of 2023. So I definitely would love you guys, the juniors, to fill out this survey. It's a lot of random questions on here, but this survey will help me help you next year. So some of the questions that are on that survey may seem a little personal, but again, there is a reason that I'm asking all of those questions, because then I can see who needs certain types of help with certain financial aid, with essays, and some other things. All right. So I would definitely love for you guys to fill that out. Campus Connections Part 2. This is tomorrow night. This is for graduating seniors. So if you want to jump on here tomorrow night, you can. I have some graduates coming in to give the students some hints and tips on what they need to do to get ready for college between now and the fall. And then we also have a representative from Montgomery County Community College that's going to help us with some things. And he's also on the school board, Mr. Christopher Haramida. Okay. That Step Up to College booklet that I just showed you is this link right here. Okay. So those should be the links that you guys need to do what you need to do. Okay. So I'm going to go back to presentation mode. And I just showed you that. And there's the senior survey if you want to take a picture of it. But again, that senior survey is on the link. All right. So before I start with this, does anybody have any questions with what I went over so far? Any questions? Okay. You can put it in the chat. I see that Jack has his hand up. You can go ahead and drop your question in the chat.
Miss, can I speak in Spanish?
You can go in the chat in Spanish, and
in the chat.
If you want to do that.
Got it.
So go on the chat and you see Miss Gina's name there.
Yes, I am here. So if you want to know something and you cannot understand English, please just write the question in Spanish. Si hablas español y no entiendes el inglés, entonces yo te ayudo aquí.
You good, Jack?
Yeah, I am good.
Puedes escribirme, ¿eh?
Yeah, okay.
All right, thank you, honey. All right, so we're gonna go ahead.
I'm here. So estoy aquí cualquier cosa que necesiten. I'm here anyone that needs my help. I'm going to be here. Thank you.
Okay. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to begin with the end in mind. So normally when I start my presentations at this point, I'm kind of giving you guys what you need to do first between now and the summer. If anybody else has just popped in, if you can mute yourself, that would be greatly appreciated. I'll just go ahead and make sure everybody in here is muted. Okay, everybody's good. Okay, so there is an author, his name is Stephen Covey. He has a book called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And he always talks about if you're going to do something, you want to think about the end result that you want first so that you can go backwards to figure out what you need to do. So we're going to talk about tonight the common application just a little bit. Essays, ACT, SAT, building your college list, campus tours, and reviewing the net price calculator for top choices. And I'll explain what all of those things are on the next slide, okay? So this is something that some people will never tell you. And I probably shouldn't tell you this either, but it is the truth. You really don't need me to get into college, okay? And I'm gonna tell you why. There are plenty of schools that you guys can apply to on your own, get your transcript sent there, and you will get accepted, okay? But this is what you need me and your counselors for, okay? To help you guys to avoid getting played, okay? So what I mean by that is that we help you guys decide on what schools are an appropriate fit for you, okay? We guide you through the college maze because there are a lot of directions and different things that go on, and my seniors on the line can let you know that, and they'll let you know at the end. There's so many rules and so many messages, there's so many things that are going on in this whole college process to help you avoid some traps that you may fall into with financial aid or scholarships or just some old rules. A lot of times we have students that have older siblings or cousins or parents that went to school when I went to school, and those rules are totally different, okay? So you wanna know what the new rules are. A sounding board, if you wanna vent about something. I don't know if you can hear the lawnmower in the back, but I think that there's a rule that every time I do a webinar with you guys, somebody wants to cut their grass outside. So I hope that that noise is muted out. But if you need to-
Michelle, excuse me, there is a kid that is asking if I am in 10th grade, can I answer the survey?
No.
Ok, entonces la respuesta es no.
Yes, only
Thank
for
you.
juniors. Yes, only for juniors.
Sale, entonces no puede, solamente para los niños más grandes, de 11º grado. ¿Preguntas? ¿No? ¿Jack?
No, estoy muy bien. Ya,
Thank you.
comprendí, maestra. Gracias.
Can you guys, yeah, if you can stay in the chat, that would be great. Okay. So if you need to vent about some things, we can do that too, okay? A referee, a lot of parents and students, that's a very stressful time for you, very, very stressful. And so sometimes I am playing the referee between the student and the parent to get things done, all right? And I did that with my own daughter. It got very tense in this house. And so I would also talk to her counselor and kind of, move some things through her if I didn't want to do those things myself, okay? And I'll also help you guys crawl through those financial aid packages, okay? So we'll talk about that next. All right, so normally I do not start with money, but I am going to start with money tonight because this is the main thing that gets people confused. And this is the biggest mistake that people make. So we're gonna talk about the money first, okay? All right. So when you guys are applying for financial aid, there are 4 main types of financial aid that you will receive, okay? So you're going to receive, possibly when you do your financial aid application, is a Pell Grant. And so anytime you see the word grant or scholarship, those are good words. So can you guys drop in the chat and tell me why grants and scholarships are good words? Drop that in the chat for me. Why are they good words? All right, so I see free money. I see free money. Anyone else? You don't have to pay it back. Exactly. So that's money that you do not have to pay back. So some of you, when you do file for financial aid, you may find out that you're going to get the full Pell Grant from the federal government. And so that is $6,495 this year. So next year, the price changes a little bit. And so we also heard that the government is actually going to give students an additional $400. So students that are going to college this fall could potentially get $6,895 from the federal government, okay? Students may also be eligible for what's called an SEOG grant. That's a supplemental educational opportunity grant. That's up to $4,000. That grant is for students or families that need some additional money based off of their income, okay? The third type of money that you get from filling out your financial aid application is you may possibly get a Pennsylvania state grant. And so that money is, again, based off of your financial need that you put on your form, and the amount of money that you receive is determined by the type of school that you're going to attend. So if you're going to a community college and trade school, because of the price range there, you can be eligible for up to $2,600. A public college, $4,254. A state affiliated college, which I'll talk about later, but those are like Lincoln, Penn State, the University of Pitt and Temple. That's $4,574. And a private college, $5,000. Now, also, if you do go outside of the state of Pennsylvania, you guys really do not get any state aid when you go outside of Pennsylvania. So you may be eligible for this Pell Grant, but not for the Pennsylvania state grant. If you're going to a school in Delaware, DC, Maryland, Ohio, West Virginia, or Vermont, you can get up to $600, okay? All right. And then the fourth type of money that you can receive is a federal Stafford loan. And so, of course, nobody wants a loan, but unfortunately, most students do have to borrow money for college now. And so this is a federal loan, which is better than a bank loan because the bank loan has more interest and it has less options to repay these loans. And so the maximum amount of a federal loan that students receive is $5,500 if you're what's called a dependent student, okay? You also can be eligible for something called a Parent Plus loan, which will cover any monies that is left over in your financial aid package, okay? And I'm gonna show you how that works in a second. I'm gonna skip that. All right, so when you guys are paying for college, these are the items that you need to take into consideration, because most of you are going to have what's called a gap in your bill, meaning that there's going to be some money left over that you are responsible for. So the cost of attendance is the tuition, room, board, and fees of the college. So tuition means that that's how much it costs to be educated at that particular school. Room means that's the room or the dorm that you're staying in. Board means those are your meals, because we all like to eat. And then they always have these random fees. And we've been noticing that the fees are becoming more and more expensive. Okay? Then you're going to subtract from that any school aid that you receive as far as grants, loans, and scholarships. And then whatever is left over is called a gap. And so that money that is left over can be paid in cash, loans, outside scholarships, or a combination of all of them, okay? So does anybody have any questions so far? And Ms. Gina, did you have any questions so far? Because I want to make sure I don't go too fast. Okay, so I don't hear any questions. I don't see anything in the chat, so that means I'm supposed to keep going. All right. So I'm going to give you an example, and this is why I'm starting with the money first, because this is the fight and the argument that I have with people every single year in March, April, and May, okay? And the reason why I have this big fight and argument with everybody is because some people think that I'm a hater. And I'm not a hater. I don't want you guys to take on unnecessary debt, okay? So I'm gonna give you some examples. So it's very possible that your gap, after you subtract, again, we talked about the cost of attendance minus your school aid equals a gap. It is very possible that you may have a $20,000 gap left over that has to be paid, okay? So what that means is if you are a student that has not, if you're the first person in your family to go to college, or your parents haven't been in a long time, you pay your balance semester 1 and semester 2. So you don't pay the whole 20 at one time. You pay half of it the first semester, half of it the second semester. So you have two options to pay it. The first option is that you can just pay the whole semester up front, the little 10,000, well, that's not little, $10,000 if your gap is $20,000, okay? If you don't have the $10,000 to pay up front, then you can do a payment plan. So let's say for your payment plan, you're gonna put down $1,000 for your payment plan for the first semester, okay? So if that's the case, if you're gonna put down $2,000 for the first semester, second semester, that means that your payment plan balance is $18,000 for the whole year, or $9,000 per semester. And so for my people who are really good at math, you can check my calculations behind me. I checked them a couple of times. They might not be right, but it might be close. So if my calculations are wrong, please email me the correct calculations and I can fix this for the next time. Okay, so let's say that you're going to do the payment plan. And remember, you're going to pay $1,000 deposit. This is just an example, which means you're going to owe $9,000 for the first semester. The payment plan is going to have a $35 fee. Okay, and then you're going to put down that $1,000 deposit as an example. And then they're going to either split your payments into 4 or 5 payments. So those 4 or 5 payments will be approximately $1,800 a month if you choose to do the 5 payments, okay? So I'm gonna pause right here before I go into the next examples. So let me know if I explained that correctly or if anybody has any questions about that. You can drop your questions in the chat. Any questions? Okay, so I guess I explained that well. Okay, so if you have a $15,000 gap, all the same rules go together. It's going to be $7,500 if you pay it all together for the first semester, or if you're going to do the payment plan, after you do all of the math, you would end up paying $1,300 per month if you did 5 payments. I see a question in the chat. Do you have interest? There is no interest. That's a great question. There is no interest on the payment plan. So they charge that one-time $35 fee, and if you just keep using the same link. So the second semester, you don't have to pay the $35 again. And you shouldn't have to do it the next, you may have to do it the next year, but because you're probably using the same system, I'm not quite sure. But there is no interest that accumulates on the payment plan. That's a great question. Okay. So if you have a gap of $15,000, that's going to be $1,300 per month if you do the 5 payments on the payment plan. If your gap is $10,000 for the year, that's going to be $5,000 a semester. If you do the payment plan and you do all of the math, that's going to be $800 per month with 5 payments. And I'm also going to send you this recording, guys. So for those of you who are writing really fast, you don't have to get that carpal tunnel syndrome. You can either take a picture, but you will get this video either tomorrow or Friday, okay? And then if your gap is $5,000 for the whole year, that means that you're going to pay $2,500 for the first semester, $2,500 for, $2,500 per semester. And when you do all of the math, that should break down to $300 per month with 5 payments. Okay. So The reason why I'm talking to you guys about this money part first is because a lot of people don't pay attention to the money at all until the end. And then people say, I talked to my mom about it and we're just gonna figure it out. Sometimes, a lot of times people can't figure this out because sometimes there's no way to figure this out. You either have the money or you don't, okay? So I've had situations where I have students that have a $25,000 gap, a $30,000 gap, and I've looked through their financial aid package, and I just know looking at the math that they cannot afford to pay $30,000 a balance every single year. That's $120,000 if you times that times 4, okay? So we want to make sure that if you're with your parents, I know parents don't like talking about money or how much money I have saved for college, because students, to be honest, most of your parents have not saved all of that money or even close to that amount of money for college, because this is real life. The cost of college has risen astronomically, but the cost of living, inflation, the cost of living has not matched up with that. And so that's another reason why you guys want to check ahead of time to kind of figure out how much you think you're going to owe. And you also want to apply for a number of scholarships to set that cost off. So a question is the $35 fee for every college? Pretty much every college is going to be $30, $35, $40 around there. So everybody's not going to be 35, but it's going to be somewhere around that amount. So if you don't feel comfortable asking your parents how much money they make, because if you ask your parents how much money they make, what are they going to say? Drop that in the chat for me, because I know what y'all are going to say. Drop it in the chat. Or parents, if your students are coming home asking you, how much money do you make? What is going to be the comment? Oh, the chat is hot. Let's see here. What do we have here? They're going to lie. Not enough. We don't make enough. What else are they going to say? Drop that in the chat for me. Okay, not enough, and they're going to lie. That's my business, absolutely. So if you don't want to ask them how much they make, let's say, Mom, if my balance is $10,000 or $5,000, can we budget and pay this amount of money? And that is the way that you can approach that very uncomfortable conversation, okay? And somebody else said, none of your business, absolutely. Okay, so it says, how do you get to know that you have a gap in your budget? So what's going to happen is after you guys do your applications, do your financial aid, and we'll talk in detail about the financial aid when we do our 3rd session in August. But after you do your financial aid application, you're going to get a financial aid letter from the college. And so the college is going to take your information from your FAFSA, your free application for federal student aid, and put together a financial aid package and let you know how much money you're going to get from the federal government, from the state, and any scholarships that they're going to give you. And then after you do the math, there'll be, in most cases, some type of a gap there. So students and parents, you can meet with me when that time comes, and I will help you go through all of your packages, because I have 2 students on here that are witnesses that I will help you go through all of those packages, okay? All right, this is something else that you guys can use, and this is the other reason why I wanted to talk about the money at the beginning of the presentation, because normally everybody talks about this last. Every college has on their website something called a net price calculator. And so that calculator asks a number of questions that are on the FAFSA that will assist in providing a sense of the type of aid that you will receive from that particular school. So it won't be exact, but it'll be very helpful. They're going to ask you about your income, what kind of grades you have, your SAT, ACT scores, if you have those things available, and some other random questions to put together what they think would be a similar financial aid package that they would give you. And so for some of you, you can do that ahead of time and look at it and see, if this college is going to be too much for you. All right. So in order to find the net price calculator for any school, don't go on the website and click around and look, because some of the schools hide it. So you just put net price calculator, Temple University, net price calculator, Virginia Wesleyan, net price calculator, Cabrini University, and it will come up automatically, and then you can go ahead and put your calculations in there. It may take you a while to do those calculations, but it will be well worth it for you guys to kind of have an idea at the beginning what your money situation is going to look like. Now, what I will say to you though, there may be a college that you have applied to. We're going to talk about college fit in a second, that meets every criteria that you're looking for. It seems like a great fit for you, but it looks like on that net price calculator that it may be too expensive for you. If it's a fit, still keep that college on your list anyway, because you don't know, they may give you some random scholarship that wasn't on that net price calculator. So I still want you to keep those items there, and we'll talk about that in a second. All right. So before I come off the money part, does anyone have any questions about the financial aid? You can drop it in the chat, and then Ms. Gina, if you had a question from one of the students that you're talking to, you can ask that out loud. All right. It's a little quiet, so I'm going to keep on going. All right. All right. So now we're going to get into the meat of the conversation, and I'm going to move a little bit faster because it's 7:09. I know we're done at 8, and I want to make sure I save some space for your questions at the end. All right. So now we're going to talk about the actual college application process. All right. So when you guys are, I'm going to move my little bar here, applying to college, they're going to look at your transcript. That's going to be very essential, okay? And so they're going to look at your transcript for consistency. So they're going to look at 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade, and they're going to look to ensure that you are being consistent with your classes, meaning if you have 3 or 4 classes that are honors in 9th grade, they're going to look to see if you have 3 or 4 honors classes in 10th grade, if you added an extra class, if you continue with that same sequence over the 4 years and maybe add another advanced class or 2. Now, if they see that you've had some honors classes and then your senior year you have none, that's not a good look. Okay, because we don't have we do put your senior roster on your transcript. Okay, so they're looking for consistency. They're looking for progress over time. So I know we spent 1.5 to 2 years in this whole COVID quarantine situation. And so they are very well aware, because I know this is a secret, but they were in the quarantine too. So they know that some of your grades are a little suspect from maybe 9th grade, 10th grade, some of this year. And so that would be a great opportunity for you, if you do your essay, to talk about that in your essay, or to talk to the admissions counselor at your college that you're talking to, to explain some of those things. Okay. They're also looking at your rigor, how intense your classes are, if they're honors, advanced placement classes, if you have any electives that match the career that you want or the major that you want to go into. And when we say the word major, we mean that is the major course of study that you're going to be taking in college. So you're going to major in psychology, you're going to major in education, you're going to major in engineering. Okay. All right. They're also going to look at testing. And I see that there's a question in the chat, so let me answer that one quickly. Where do I need to go to get more information about PSATs? So with the PSATs, because this is the junior year, this is a great question. There's not going to be any PSATs for seniors. So they only do those for 10th and 11th graders. So the PSAT is just kind of a test, a practice test, so that you can see how you're going to do on the SAT. So the colleges won't accept any PSAT scores. Okay. And so let me know if you need any clarification on the PSAT question. So I'm going to keep moving, but if I see it's in the chat, I'll stop and answer that question too. But you guys should, okay, it's consistency. If a student goes down AP classes from junior to senior year, but still has weighted honors, is that okay? courses that planned are in projected major. Yes, that's okay, because sometimes students may find that they're taking an AP class and it's just too challenging for a particular subject. So that's okay. And it's even okay if a student has had an honors class and they move back and take a regular class. If they're struggling with a C, struggling to get that C or has a D in an honors or an AP class, it's expected that you're going to move, because every subject is not going to be your subject. So I've had students that maybe had all A's and B's on every class on their transcript, but they had C's in every math class that they took. But the student is not majoring in anything that's math or science related. So I know that everyone is not going to do a bang up job in every single class. Some people do, but they do know that. So sometimes if you're going to go down from one AP class, maybe see if there's another AP class or honors class that you can switch out and add that in its place. Okay. And then let me know if I need. Yes, ma'am.
Sorry, I hate to interrupt. Just to make sure, so I didn't get it. So where he needs to go, this student I think is 10th grader. So where he needs to go to get more information about the PSATs?
He can go on, if you have any questions about the PSAT, if you are a 10th grader on here, that's a great question. You're gonna go on collegeboard.org, and I'll put that in the chat for you. Collegeboard.org is where they do the PSAT, but you don't have to worry about getting signed up for the PSAT, because we offer it free every year for our students in 10th and 11th grade. Okay. The student can go. So if the student wants to make an appointment with me on the side, we can definitely sit and go over that. Did that answer a student's question about the PSAT, or is anything else? Or you can come back later and ask if you want to do that. Okay. All right, let me go back up. Somebody says, when it comes to applying for a particular school, what are more important, classes or grades? Some people will say grades, but classes are important too, because if you're going to go and you want to do, let's say, engineering, they want to see that you took pre-calculus, right? They want to see if maybe you possibly took calculus. It could be an honors calculus if you want to, but it could be a regular calculus class, or a pre-calculus. They want to see that you've taken some electives that kind of connect with majors. So I know that our school and other schools might not offer every single major that's available, and some may not offer any majors that's connected to, electives connected to majors that you want. But they're all important. You just want to make sure that you have a variety of those classes and to keep those grades up as high as you can. Okay. So a lot of information, a lot of conversation has been around taking the SAT or the ACT. Should I take the SAT or should I not take the SAT? The answer is you still should take the SAT and or the ACT. Most colleges will still remain test optional next year. I'm reading blogs and articles all the time on webinars. So a lot of them will still be test optional, but still take the test anyway. Just when you sign up to take the test, do not send your scores out to the colleges. And I think somebody told me that, and you guys can drop this in the chat for me. If you registered for the SAT or the ACT this year, I heard that they took out the section where you put 4 names of schools in there you want to send your scores to, because they altered it this year. So can you guys drop it in the chat for me and let me know if that is accurate, that they do not ask you to put down names of schools to send your scores to. And I'll wait for you guys to put that in the chat. But do not send your scores anywhere until you talk to me or talk to your counselor, okay? And when we come back in August, I'll explain that in more detail. But pretty much you're gonna go on, the school's website or just Google and find out what the average SAT score is that school is looking for, and make sure that your score is on the average or higher. If it's not on the high end of the range that they're looking for, we're not submitting that score. But let's have some conversation about that, okay? All students at our school are eligible for fee waivers because we are in the free lunch program, the National School Lunch Program. So what that means is that you get to take the SAT for free twice, and you get to take the ACT for free, I believe, 4 times. It used to be 2, but I think they increased it to 4. And since you're going to get waivers for your SAT and the ACT, that means that you will also get waivers for all of your applications. All right. So it is very rare that any student from our school pays any application fees. The only caveat or catch is that some of the HBCUs, historically Black colleges and universities, do not accept fee waivers. But I have been seeing more and more that they are being added to the common application, which takes fee waivers. And there's also something called the Black Common application, where you pay a $25 fee and you can apply to about maybe 64 colleges, okay? So we'll go into more detail with that, but also that link that I gave you guys in the chat, that summer booklet has that information in it, okay? If you're going to take the SAT and the ACT, do not take the test back to back, meaning if you take the test in August, don't take the same test again in September. Or if you're taking a test in September, don't take the same test in October, because you won't have time to look through your scores to see if your scores, where your strengths and weaknesses are, and make some changes for the next administration. So we find that students that take those tests back to back, they get the exact same score, or their score may go up 10 points, okay? Now, if you're gonna take an SAT in August and an ACT in September, you can totally do that because the tests are designed differently, but don't do them back to back. Okay, and then I talked to you guys about not sending those scores directly to the schools. Review them with me first, and I'll let you know if you should send them or not. Okay, I'm gonna move a little bit faster. There are 4 types of applications. You have the standard application that is on the school website that you can complete. They're usually pretty short. There's also something called the common application, which is what most students use now. So you fill out the application 1 time, and then you can apply to up to, I believe it's 20 schools, okay? But there are over 900 schools that use the common application. You also have something called the coalition application, which is a newer application. I hear it either may be disappearing or it's merging with another company, but it has about 90 colleges that use the common application. Not too many people from our school use it, but that's available to you. And then there's also something called the Black Common application for any students that are applying to historically Black colleges and universities. And so if any students that are applying to historically Black colleges and universities, you do not have to be an African-American student to apply to the HBCU. It's just that traditionally, the schools were started for African-American students because back in the 1800s, African-American students could not go to college. They've been very popular, they've been well attended, so they're still open. But they do have that application where you pay a $25 fee and you can apply to up to 60 schools on that list. Now, here's something that I'm going to tell you, and I'm not trying to be mean and I'm not trying to be rude, but can I keep it real? Put it in the chat. Can I keep it real? Yes, no. Drop it in the chat for me. Y'all guys know me already because I know everybody on here. I hope you say yes. Okay. Now, some colleges will be opening their applications in July and August. They keep doing it earlier and earlier every year. Number 1, because they're trying to get an edge on other people. And number 2, they are thirsty because their enrollments are going down and they are trying to get an edge. So they're going to get you all excited. You're going to start filling out the application. You're going to send me an email or your counselor to get a transcript, and you're going to hear crickets. because we're on vacation, because y'all are on vacation and we're on vacation. So we are not sending you any transcripts over the summer to finish these applications, okay? And none of the other schools are really doing that either, because we don't work over the summer, okay? So what I would highly recommend to you, because they're trying to kill our summers and I'm trying to hold on to it, what you can do though, is at the end of June, you can email the secretary in the main office and she can send you a transcript, but it's still not going to be the official transcript that you need for college, but it will have your 9th grade, your 10th grade, and your 11th grade classes on the application. So at least you can send them that. But we will not be giving you guys official transcripts until the middle of September. And the reason why is because the colleges want to see what your roster is for senior year. And we don't know what your roster is until you finish doing schedule changes those first couple of weeks of school, okay? So nothing's gonna happen to you. Everything's gonna be fine. Your life is not gonna be ruined, but we're not sending y'all any transcripts over the summer, okay? And I'm gonna send out several emails about that, okay? All right, I'm gonna go faster. I'm gonna skip that because we'll talk about that in the fall. I'm gonna skip that too. It's kind of too late for this now. Make yourself known, check your email all the time, get to know your counselor. We're gonna talk about college fit now, okay? So any quick questions that you wanna drop in the chat before I move on to the next part? And so now I see that Katie is on here and it may be some other seniors that are on here. I'm gonna let you guys answer some of these questions that people are asking because I know y'all know the answer and I know I might run over a little bit. Okay, I don't see any questions. So you guys need to make sure this is the most important part of your college process. You wanna do something called College Fit. You wanna use the acronym called SLAM, social, location, academics, monetary. These are things that you wanna use and you wanna look at when you are looking at schools. You want to make sure that socially they have the clubs, the organizations, the sports that you are looking for, because especially if you are going to be staying on campus, that's where you're going to be living potentially for 4 years. And you want to make sure that it is a great fit, a great vibe for you. So a location is very important. Do you want to be close to home? Do you want to commute and stay home? Do you want to go across the country? Do you want to be in the city? Do you want to be in a rural campus? Those things are important, okay? Academics, that's the most important because you want to make sure they have your major. If you don't know what your major is, maybe if you have 3 favorite subjects and maybe 3 things you're trying to narrow down to, let's see if that school has your major. Maybe internships, externships are something that are important to you. And then monetary, can you afford to go there? But remember we said, you want, if there's a school that seems like it's too expensive, but it fits everything else you want, keep it on there anyway, all right? So what I wanna do quickly, because I know Katie is on here. Katie, do you have any advice to share about this section? Katie Griffen is one of our seniors.
Am I okay to talk in? Do you want me to type it or do you want me to talk?
Oh, you can. Oh, you talking, girl. You on here?
Let me think. I think the biggest advice that I can really give is just do your research. You know, really think about the colleges when you're trying to narrow them down. Because for my major, my minor, actually, not a lot of schools offered it, so it was hard for me to narrow down my college choice. And if you're unsure about, you know, some of the things that your college or one of the options offers, don't be afraid to, you know, contact the college or representatives from the college, because, you know, they're only there to help you. You know, they want you to ask questions. You know, they want you want to go into the college application process with the mentality that they want you to come to their school. So I guess that's the biggest advice I can probably give.
Mm-hmm. And so Katie's going to Westchester. So how did you end up picking Westchester? Because you narrowed your choices down to Westchester, and what was the other school?
It was Westchester or Gettysburg College. So there are two very different schools. Westchester is a state school. It has a bigger population. It has a bigger campus, whereas Gettysburg still had a great program, but they had a smaller campus. It was further away, and it was definitely more costly. So I think what it came down to was the monetary, the M in SLAM, how much it costs to attend this college. I think I off the top of my head, I want to say it was $81,000 a year, versus Westchester that was, I want to say, about not even 25. So I think that was the biggest factor in me trying to choose my college. But also I feel like I do like the environment of Westchester a lot better. That's just my personal preference. For me going into college, I want to have that more like college town feel that's more involved socially, I guess. So Westchester was offering that more versus Gettysburg, and that really was, I guess, the final factor when trying to pick my college. So
Yep. And I asked Katie to be on here, and I thank you, Katie, because we spent a lot of time talking about everything, and she really went and visited the campuses and felt the vibe on those campuses, which is very important for you guys. So you want to also take some time over the summer and visit some of these campuses and see what the vibe is, because may you may go to Gettysburg and you like Gettysburg and you don't like Westchester. That's your own personal preference. And then also she talked about that cost. Again, some of your school may cost $80,000, but some of the students that I have seen, they got $75,000 in aid too. It just depends on other factors of what they're looking for. And so that's something that we're going to talk about in the fall. Okay. So thank you, Katie. And I'm gonna call on you again. And is there any other senior that's on here too? Because I can't see who's here now. Who else is here tonight? Because it might just be you, Katie. Because I asked the seniors to come on today, but I forgot they had final exams this week. So the other guys may be getting ready for final exams. All right, so it looks like it's just you, Katie. All right. All right, so what schools are on your list and why? And so Katie talked about a lot of that, okay? So these are the reasons that a college should be on your list, that your grades and your GPA are in the range. And GPA means grade point average. So your grade point average is on your transcript. Your transcript is like a big report card. So it has all of your classes from 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade on there, and it averages all of your credits and grades together and comes up with a number that represents your performance over those 3 years, okay? You want to make sure that the college has your major. You want to either have been there for a visit or did a virtual tour, okay? Clubs or organizations, when you visit the campus, it just felt right to you and you like the town and city around that. And that's one of the things that Katie said. She said she wanted that nice, town feel, okay? All right, now, some of you want to apply to 8,542 colleges because that's what you see people doing online. We're not doing that. We don't have time to do all of those applications, all right? So you want to make sure that we're going to get you guys to apply to about 6 to 12 schools, but there's still always somebody here that's always applying to 30. That's just too many, okay? So you want to do 1 to 2 reach schools. These are schools that are your top choices, but you're less likely to be accepted, okay? Because they have a 15% or 25 or 30% acceptance rate, okay? You want to have 2 to 4 target schools. Those are schools that match your needs, your wishes, and you would be happy to attend. And then you want to pick 1 to 3 safety schools. Those are schools that you have a little chance of rejection. So you want to make sure, again, that you're applying to 6 to 12 schools. 1, because you don't know if you're going to get accepted to all those schools. And even if you do get accepted to the schools, the money may be an issue at the end. So of course, my dream is that you get accepted to every school that you apply to and they give you money for all of them, but that's just not going to be the case. All right. You want to include a mix of state colleges, private colleges, and community colleges. So I'm going to show you a little example of those. Okay. So if you go to a community college, Montgomery County, Northampton Community College, or Philadelphia Community College, there is no grade point average requirement. And so your tuition, that's how much your education costs, is going to be around $6,000 per year. So for those of you students who do your financial aid application and you do get the maximum award on there, that means you're not paying anything to go to Montgomery County Community College. Now, there's going to be a catch with Northampton and Philadelphia Community College because they're out of our county. So anytime you go out of the county, you're going to pay the out of county rate. So their rate is going to be more than $6,000. And of course, you're commuting, you're going to commute further. And you can't commute to Northampton Community College, so you would have to stay on campus there. And they are one of the few community colleges that does have housing. Okay. All right. Here's a question. With all else being equal, is getting into an out-of-state school much more difficult? The answer is no. There's a number of students that get accepted to out-of-state colleges. In most cases, if your out-of-state college is a public college, they usually have some restrictions on the percentage of students that they can accept from out-of-state. But for the most part, our students don't really have any problems. The problem is going to come into your financial aid package, because if you do go out of state, again, remember, you're not going to be able to take that state aid with you if you're eligible for it. And also, if you're going to a public college out of state, then you're going to pay the out of state tuition rate, which is going to be significantly higher. Now, if you're going to a private college, private colleges don't have in-state and out-of-state tuition. So it's going to cost a person, if you're going to go to, let's just say you're going to go to Drexel, the tuition for somebody who lives in Pennsylvania and the person who lives in New York is going to be the exact same. It's just that the aid part you may potentially lose out on. Okay. And then if you need me to expand on that question some more, just drop that in the chat for me. Okay. Now, some of you guys may go to a trade or a technical school like a Thaddeus Stevens, a UTI, Empire Beauty School. For the most part, there's no grade point average requirement. The tuition varies for that, but they do accept your FAFSA application. So you want to make sure that you fill those out. And so some of them you may go for 1 year, you may go for 2 years. And so they'll spell out all of those things for you. Okay. Some of you may end up picking a public or a state college. That words are used interchangeably. So you have schools like Kutztown, IUP, Cheney, Westchester. So those are the GPA ranges, and that's the average tuition, room and board amount that you would have to pay to stay there. Okay. Then you have your state-related or affiliated college. So basically, let me go backwards. A public college means that the state of Pennsylvania is giving money to the school to offset the cost of tuition to make it more affordable. $23,000 is still not affordable either. That's a whole nother conversation that we'll have in our financial aid lesson. But they cut the costs to make it lower. State-related is kind of a private school, but they do get some money from the state of Pennsylvania to offset that cost as well. And those is only 4 state-related colleges, and they're there. And then, of course, your private colleges, like your Drexel, University of Penn, University of Chicago. And in some cases, a lot of cases, the GPA requirement may be higher. Some private colleges, they don't have a high GPA requirement, but the ones with the higher tuitions do. And so it could literally cost you up to $35,000 to $80,000 a year to stay on campus. And so again, I just want to remind you that these are called sticker prices that haven't been adjusted for any financial aid and scholarships that you could receive. Okay, so I just wanted to give you an idea of the price ranges and the types of schools in that area. Okay. If you're going to play sports, if you're trying to go Division I, they give out full to partial athletic scholarships. This year, they nationally did not have, I think they only had 26 scholarships to give out because there are a lot of people that took a year off or used some more eligibility because of COVID. So it kind of eliminated a lot of the scholarships that were out there. If you're going to play Division II sports, they only give partial athletic scholarships. And if you're going to go Division III, they do not give out athletic scholarships. But if your grades are good, they will find some academic scholarships for you. And some of the students, the grades are not good, they'll find some academic scholarships for you too. Okay. So you need to let me know if you want to do that, because there's an application that you need to fill out for that. It's called the NCAA Eligibility Center. Okay. And so you guys who are going D1 and D2, you need to have a minimum of a 2.3 GPA on their scale, not our scale. They're going to type in all of your classes and reweight them on their scale. They're going to take out all of your electives too. So that's another thing that you want to be, want to take consideration of, okay? And I'm just gonna fly through this real quick because I'm almost done. These are just some basic dates that you need to be aware of, and we'll explain these in more detail in the fall. But I want to make sure some of you guys may do something called an early action EA or early decision application. Most of our students, we try to dissuade them from doing the early decision application because it's a binding agreement. And if you get accepted to the school, they're expecting you to come. They're asking you for all this financial information ahead of time. And if you can't afford to go, you have to accept whatever package that they give you. And it's very hard to undo an early decision, okay? So we try to get most of you guys to do early action. You're applying early, you get accepted early, but you don't have to make a binding decision for that. If you are applying to some type of a specialty program, like nursing, pre-med, art, music, they sometimes either have an alternate deadline or they also have some type of a portfolio or something that you have to do. So if you're doing some kind of a specialty major, you need to pay attention to the college's application, okay? And then your financial aid application is going to be due is going to open up in October, okay? And then you have until May 1st for the majority of colleges to make a decision where you are going to attend school. So again, you're going to apply to these 6 to 12 schools that we talked about up at the top, 6 to 12 schools. We're going to try to get these applications in by Thanksgiving, and we'll talk about this in more detail in the fall. Try to get them done early. Wait for those applications so that you can get accepted. Make sure that you get your financial aid stuff done so that you can get all of your letters, financial aid letters to those colleges that you have been accepted to in the spring. So your goal is to get those letters by March and April so that you can have time to go through those letters, okay? So I'm gonna pull Katie back on here again before we start going into our questions to share a little bit about some advice about going through financial aid letters, because we did a lot of that conversation. You got anything to share, Miss Katie?
I think the only thing that I really have to share is looking at your aid letters can be very confusing. I am not really a math person, so doing the calculations for finding out how much money the school's actually giving you can be very, very confusing. So never feel like you have to be afraid to ask questions, either your parents or guardians, or even the college themselves, because I have received some scholarships and some of the award letters I have received that were not specific and didn't really give any, like, they they didn't specifically tell me, you know, whether it was annual or whether the money they were giving me was, you know, renewable after multiple years. So what I did, you know, I just contacted the college and asked questions through like their admissions. So never be afraid to ask questions because they're more than willing to answer those questions for you. And that's probably the biggest advice I can give is don't ever be afraid to ask questions.
All right. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen because the presentation is over as far as my part. And I want to leave this open for questions. So Katie and I will tag team and answer these questions. All right. So I see a question in the chat here. Do you need recommendation letters for some of the colleges like UPenn? Katie, you want to answer that or you want me to answer? It's not exactly UPenn, it's just an example.
So I know that not all colleges require for a recommendation letter. I know some colleges require one or two, but not all colleges require a recommendation letter. But I feel like having a letter of recommendation definitely gives you better chances of getting into that said college because it gives, you know, those people who are looking at your transcript more to look off of, you know, get to know you a little bit more better. It helps them make a better decision about whether they really want you at your school or not. So
And so that's a great answer. And I want to add to that too, because most of your colleges will be test optional again this year. You want to give them as much information as you can about yourself. And so that means that that essay that says optional, it's not optional. We're doing this essay. And so we're already putting some things in place and kind of getting some other people in place to help with those essays, because that can be a very stressful and polarizing situation, you know, where people just don't want to move forward with the application because of that particular essay. But you want to try to get 2 or 3 letters of recommendations from teachers that you know, teachers that know you well, not people that like you, right? Because I like a lot of you on here, but I don't know you that well. And your letter of recommendation for me is not going to be good because I don't know you that well. Right? So you want to ask somebody that knows you well. Now, if you have a counselor that has to do a letter for you and it's mandatory from the college and they don't know you well, then tell the counselor who is another teacher that knows you well, because this is what I do. This is my little hack. I ask Katie, who is a teacher that knows you well and can write a nice letter for you, it's written one for you. So she'll tell me. I will call that teacher and say, hey, I have to fill out this form for Katie. Can you help me write this form? And then they will help me submit that if it's a form that I absolutely have to send on your behalf. But you want to pick a teacher that has had you, that you've had once or twice, that knows you well, maybe someone whose class you didn't do so well at the beginning, and then you had some obstacles and you got those things done, because they want to see growth. It doesn't have to be a perfect letter that this person is so perfect, so wonderful. When they walk into the room, the lights come on and it smells like roses and all that kind of stuff. They want to hear that you did some work in teams. You know, one of my students that I have, the teacher wrote about how it was stressful coming back from quarantine and students weren't really participating in class. And this particular student got other students to interact and participate in class, which made it easier on the teacher. And the teacher really appreciated that. And the student consents when there was some lulls in class, and they actually helped the teacher make the class a better environment. And so they wrote about that in the letter. I thought it was an amazing thing that that student did. Okay. Question. I had some questions about availability of scholarships. Should I just wait until the financial aid meeting in August? No, I didn't put my website on there. I think my website is, bit.ly-nhs. I think that is my website. I'm gonna put it in here and see if this works. I have a website for the College and Career Center, and there are some scholarship links on there. So there are some scholarships that you guys can fill out. Actually, you can start filling them out now. Okay, I'm going to share my screen so that you guys can see this. Okay, so here's the College and Career website. I need to change out these pictures. These are from like 2 classes ago. But on here on the side, you'll see a link that says scholarships. Okay, and I just literally just updated this morning too. So you can look on here. There's a whole bunch of links on here, and your head is going to get dizzy. So this is my advice for you. Start out with the block of scholarships right here. These are the most popular ones. And some of these will put together when you fill out your profile. This Going Mary has been very popular for us this year, but if you fill out a profile, some of these will send you scholarships every week or every month. There are some other scholarships down here that have big prizes, but they're national, so you're competing against more people. The Gates Scholarship is a huge one, the Burger King, Coca-Cola, Cook College, Reagan, Jackie Robinson, McDonald's, okay? These are some scholarships for students that consider themselves minority students or low-income students, Native American scholarships, scholarships for undocumented students. There are a lot of these. Just be mindful if you are one of my students that's undocumented or a DACA student. This one right here, this toolkit one and this MALDEF one, when you go through that one, you may have to go through many pages to find something that's appropriate for you, because a lot of these scholarships are catered to students that live on the West Coast or in the Midwest, because they're more DACA and undocumented friendly for students. But just keep looking. But there are a number of sites. I just put 3 of them in there this morning. If you are a student that has been or is currently is in foster care, there's some money for you too. It's athletics, so it's a whole bunch of stuff on here, okay? But to be honest, parents, this one that says Scholar here at the top, this one costs $40, but it's worth it because it finds scholarships for you, okay? Hit me up, I might be able to get you a code, but those are some of the scholarship pages that you want to take advantage of there, okay? All right, let's see, there's another question in the chat. When can we start applying for scholarships? So yeah, you can start applying for those scholarships now. But I'm going to be honest with you, the best options for your scholarships are going to be the local scholarships that pop into the box in the spring. Katie, talk to them about the local scholarships.
So when it comes to the local scholarships are the ones that, you know, are given out within the area. So they're only available to, I guess, you know, depending on the scholarship, kids in the county. Sometimes only Norristown students are like eligible to fill out certain local scholarships. And a lot of times the local scholarships that pop up in the spring, that, you know, most students are done applying for regular, you know, for the college and stuff, and so they're tired. They don't really want to fill out like any more forms than they have to. Not a lot of people fill out the local scholarships that pop up in the spring, meaning that you have better chances of getting these scholarships. So fill out as many local scholarships as you can, because you definitely have a higher chance of getting those scholarships versus the big giant ones that are, you know, that a bunch of people fill out. So
And so with those local scholarships, the people actually send them to me. Some teachers may find them, the vendors, the people who are on the scholarship committee send them to me, and I have a site that I put them on and post them up there every week. And I send out emails, and I'm stalking people. I'm surprised nobody has gotten a PFA for me, but I stalk people, and believe it or not, like Katie said, a lot of people don't fill them out. And there are a couple of people this year that got scholarships because they were the only person that filled them out. So they start coming in December, but the bulk of them start coming in February and March. Okay. So what other questions do you guys have? I know we're closing out on time, so I'm going to be done as I promised by 8, but I will stick around and answer any other questions that pop up after 8. I'm just going to turn the recording off at 8. So what other questions do you guys have? Okay. Okay. All right. So if there are no other questions, I'm going to give you guys some other quick advice that I want you to be mindful of. And this is for my parents that are on here. I'm 49. I'll be 50 next year. I'm so excited. Us older people, our parents have been telling us, go to college, go to college, go to college. That's the only way that you can be successful. Go to college, go to college, go to college. With your student, you want to have conversations with them, and students too, to see what career you want to go into, because every career does not require a 4-year degree. Some career choices that students are making may require a 1-year certificate or a 2-year associate's degree, and it might not be necessary for them to get a 4-year degree. So you need to listen to your student and see what they want to do, because a lot of people are only going to a 4-year college because people are telling them that they have to, or they're telling them that they're not going to be able to be successful if they don't go to a 4-year school, and that's not accurate. There are plenty of people who get a 1-year certification, 2-year certification, and they're making more money than all of us combined because they're great at what they do. They're strategic in where they're applying, and whatever they're doing to make their produce their upward mobility, they're doing a great job. So you need to have those conversations. I had a student this year who applied to all of these 4-year colleges, got accepted to all of them, and then at the last minute did a pivot and say, you know what, I want to go into dental hygiene. I don't need a 4-year degree to go into dental hygiene. And they changed their mind. And so they're going to Montgomery County Community College because that's a more appropriate choice for that particular student. And the student has very good grades, very nice student, but that's the most appropriate and best choice for that particular student. Okay. Please make sure that if you have any questions about anything, that you make appointments to see me. I will meet with you. Y'all are paying taxes, so get a return on your investment. Make some appointments and I will sit down, go through all of your financial aid letters with you, all of these things, because I want to make sure that all of you guys win. Okay, I want you to win. I want you to do well. And I want this process to be the least stressful for you as possible. So the only way to make this process less stressful is to do as much work ahead of time as you can. And so students, I'm not saying that you need to be working on scholarships all summer, because y'all need to rest. Okay, we're tired, we're burnt out. Just do little bits and pieces over the summer. So when the fall comes, Katie, tell them what's going to happen when the fall comes if they don't do any work over the summer.
Fall comes. I was in that same boat. I just did nothing all summer. Fall comes. I was a little overwhelmed with all the things that were flying at my face.
It's a lot, because it's a lot. You guys have prom that you're getting ready for. You got what else? All these sporting events and things that you do, and that stuff, and just your work. And so if you can just get your college list down to 20 schools by August, and then by the time September rolls around, if you can get that down to 6 to 12 and work on your personal essay, start patching it together, see if somebody can help you with that. Those are the major things that are going to cause you stress. And so if you can chip away at some of those things, that would be great. So there's a question in the chat that says, are we giving assistance to write essays? Yes. So I'm working on that literally right now. It's about 3 different sources that I'm going through to make sure that you guys have all the help that you need for the fall. with your essay assistance. And I'm pretty good at doing it. I just love commas too much. So I like y'all to check after me. So I'm good at making essays flows, but I be putting too many commas in my essays. So you want somebody to check it after I look at it. But yes, we will be helping you guys with your essays. Okay.
Could I also add on to that question? I'm sorry, I don't want to interrupt.
No, I was
There is,
getting ready to say, Katie, what else do you have to say?
well, something that was super helpful my senior year is I had my English teacher. The first thing that we worked on going into my senior year with my English teacher was writing our personal statements and our essays in class. So even our English teachers have like sat down with us and, you know, given us advice on how to approach essays, and they're proofreading them, and just, you know, being like, our entire class was, I think I felt so much more prepared than I expected to be at that point, because I had my personal essay done and it was proofread. I had multiple teachers proofread it. So teachers also, you know, English teachers definitely helped me out at the beginning of my senior year with my essays. So there's that too.
And then Katie, is there any other advice that we didn't cover that you can give, or a word of encouragement that you can give to the students in the class of 2023?
I think the only thing that I can say is that this whole process, this whole like application process, financial aid, applying, scholarships, it's a lot. It can be very overwhelming. And I think the one thing that I learned is that for a lot of it, not a lot of it, but I was going into filling out certain things. I'm trying to find the right words to say this. A lot of it was very independent. I had to figure out myself how to, you know, contact these colleges if I had a question, or I had to myself, I guess, go ahead and make the decision to do more research about something I didn't really know about the process. Not a lot of people are going to hold your hand through it, because you are, you know, going to college and becoming an adult and all that kind of stuff. So I think the biggest advice I can give is don't be surprised when a lot of the process becomes very independent. Because that was a big like shock to me. I'm like, wait a minute, like, how do I do this and this? And like, oh, well, you know, you do this, but it's kind of like on your own, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. But that would be my biggest thing. But with that, also don't be afraid to ask questions, because someone is definitely, everyone's trying to help you as much as you can to get through this process, because no one enjoys going through the whole college process. So you can definitely ask questions, but at the same time, don't expect people to hold your hand through the process, I guess is what I would say. So
and again, I'm available for help, but just like she said, I will hold your hand, but I'm not going to pick your finger up and put it on the keyboard. A lot of people are expecting me to do all of that, and I'm not going to do that. So some people say Miss Mitchell is mean, and I'm not mean. It's just that when you guys go to college, they're not going to be sitting there holding your hand and doing all this stuff. So I got to help kind of ease you guys into that next life, because they're going to expect you guys to be adults. So they're going to give you some grace, but you guys know how to do a lot of stuff. Your confidence level is sometimes just not high enough. So I believe that you can do it, and you can do it, and you're going to do it. Okay. So I thank you guys for coming on to our college application crash course. I will stay behind afterward and ask any other questions. I'm just going to turn off the recording. But what I will do is when I send out the recording, I'm going to send you the link that I sent today. And also for those of you who don't feel like waiting until August to hear about the next two presentations, I will give you the link to my YouTube channel. And if you want to go ahead and watch the presentations from last year, the second and third one, they're on there. And I'm going to give you guys similar information. The financial aid information is going to be updated because they are changing the financial aid application this year. Okay. So I thank you guys so much for coming on, and I wish all you guys the best of luck. So I'm going to stop the recording.